Well, Jim, the season is over in the NFL, and we had a Super Bowl for the ages. Maybe not for its great play or its final score or something magnificent, but fuck New England.
Yeah, can we finally put to bed the fact that they might have been the most undeserving representative in a Super Bowl in probably the last 15 years, that we can all now finally agree they were a product of their schedule?
I think it was a product of schedule and overachieving with the talent they had. Look, Drake May was the runner up for the MVP for a reason. Mike Vrabel turned around a program that was 3-14 last year and did a damn good job and earned his Coach of the Year award, if in my opinion. I mean, we talked about it last episode, but I think what they ran into was finally the team that could outdo them in every facet of the game, and that's really what happened. Um, right from the jump, did you get the Seattle took the ball down the field and just kicked the field goal real quick? Um, did you feel after? Because I didn't watch it. We ended up leaving Palm Coast late on Sunday, so I now have the Westwood One app on my phone, and I listened to Kevin Harlan and um, Kurt Warner, and I was glad because it was Collinsworth doing the game. I felt once I got really into the game as I was putting Bobby to bed listening, it just seemed to me that Seattle had New England's number from the jump.
I mean, you know, um, the team stats in this game alone tells you everything that you need. There were uh, the total plays 71-67 Seattle over New England. The total yardage was basically even. The total drives 15 for New England, 13 for Seattle. But there was there was the end of a half. There was a pick six involved there. A relatively clean game, only seven penalties the entire way. But the key had to be the three New England turnovers, and also the fact that Seattle forced six sacks, and Drake May basically got exposed, as great as he was in the regular season, with the fact that he beat, you know quite honestly, an overrated Buffalo team. In one of their matchups, he got to beat up on Miami and the Jets. For five of their wins, and then he also actually, he didn't have to do anything in the AFC Championship game because nobody could do anything in the second half with that weather in Denver. But I mean, he threw for 295 yards, two touchdowns, two interceptions. Yeah, great. The two touchdowns and about 80% of those yards were in mop up time when they were already two scores down.
Oh, absolutely. I will say this: I don't think Drake May got exposed so much because I'm a big believer in a quarterback is a part of the system. Yes, he's the engine that makes it go, but he is still just one part of it. Because if your car only had an engine but didn't have any fucking tires, you're still not going anywhere. And unfortunately, Drake May's one tire fell off because that kid, that poor kid, that offensive lineman that they took, that everybody was talking about the size of his arms and everything else, he was terrible.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess he's playing through an injury from what I understand. But at the same time, bro, it's a Super Bowl. You need to fucking bring it.
Yeah, and
Um,
that was the only thing that anyone could talk about afterwards. It's not so much how New England fell flat on their faces. Like, did Will Campbell forget how to play football in the last 3 weeks? Because he was atrocious in their two playoff games as well.
yeah, he was. And I honestly believe it was the injury that did that, that made Campbell not play as well as he had. But you had mentioned New England getting there and really being undeserving. Again, overachieving is I think the word I would use personally. But also, let's take a look at the confluence of events, and I've viewed that twice today. That exact line. I'm kind of impressed with myself a little bit. That led to New England getting to the Super Bowl. You're talking about C.J. Stroud having the ultimate fucking meltdown in the first half of that game in New England. You're talking about them beating a Denver team without Bo Nix, and you know in that weather, and then you get to Seattle, and when you and I did the preview, we called a multi-score win for Seattle. Um, my
I think
final
I think
impression,
you had a one-score game. I had called
I
2
did,
from the jump.
you said two, I said one score because I honestly thought that New England would find a way to score some points. I thought they would get Travion Henderson more involved in the passing game than they did. Um, I thought they would actually. I also thought they'd be able to run the ball a little bit, Jim. To be honest with you, Seattle, that's been their one weakness this year is they do give up chunk runs at times. And you figured with Stevenson and Henderson, you might be able to do that, especially with the fact JSN was a fucking no show because of how good New England secondary played. One and two, he was battling some injuries himself.
Yeah, it's he did actually have to go to the locker room for a little bit, and then they actually announced, well, JSN's back on the field. Well, sorry to say it, Cooper Cup had 6 catches for 61 yards, a lot of that in the second half after JSN went out. Um, but kudos to your Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Walker III, for 27 carries, 135 yards. The only thing he didn't do was reach the end zone. He did, and then it got called back on a holding penalty, and then he still went off.
He did. He was the first running back since Timmy Smith and that Doug Williams led Washington Redskins at the time Redskins championship 1988
What, to win Super Bowl MVP?
Super Bowl 22. No, he's the
Terrell
first one to get
Davis.
to no, he was the first to get to 100 yards in the first half.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, you're right, you're right.
Just couldn't remember. Was it 22? Because the Bears and Patriots were 20.
Right.
Giants, Broncos 21. Yeah, it was 22. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, kudos to him. But Jim, let's spend some time on the other quarterback. We've already taken Drake May down a couple of notches with this. Let's spend some time on Sam Darnold, and let's talk about maybe is this the football year of the redemption story with
You would
Indiana in
assume.
college and Darnold in the NFL?
I mean, his numbers were not that great. 19 of 38, 202 yards and a touchdown, which that touchdown ended up being the dagger, even though New England came right back and scored, and then it was, back and forth at this point. But that basically, the touchdown that he threw in the third quarter basically is what put the game on ice at that
Yeah,
point. It was, right after a turnover, and then just go down, strike real quick. Um, but he needed to do exactly what he needed to do. He did not need to light it up like he did against the Rams. He just needed to be a game manager, much like when they won with Matt Hasselbeck. He didn't need to go out and be flashy, just be the game manager that he was really most of the year. You notice he never really showed a ton of emotion. He was the most apoplectic and stoic quarterback who ever won a Super Bowl I'd ever seen.
yeah, he was really low key. I mean, really low key. Of course, then he went to Raising Cane's and served food for a day, which was I thought was great. Um, but
If
let's
I
talk
didn't
about
if I didn't go to Papa John's, I was gonna go to Raising Cane's tonight.
nice. But let's talk about this one thing here. If you're a fan of the Minnesota Vikings, just going off a little bit of a tangent here, are you pissed?
You kinda have to be because it was a perfect storm, and then you kinda knew that you it's almost like you wanna be pissed, but not for the reason that you think, because you knew that he was gonna be a stopgap when you actually knew the fact that he was a retread. You call it lightning in a bottle. Basically, it sets the table for Daniel Jones. We kinda hope it doesn't set the table for Deshaun Watson for next year. But let's you figure you get him on a rental at that point, and then you go out and you draft a quarterback like JJ McCarthy, who shows promise, gets hurt, comes back, isn't really himself. Hopefully, a full off season, McCarthy can start to look a little bit better, for Minnesota next year. But Seattle's now got something that that they were hoping that Geno Smith would have been as a retread, and who actually would have thought that they would have actually tried the same game plan twice, and now have their second Super Bowl in an even more dominating fashion than the first time they won it against Denver. I mean, the
I don't know
score
if it could
was
be.
the score wasn't as representative, but that was a defensive clinic. A lot of people said it was not an entertaining game because of how overrated New England was going into this game. It's partly that, but it's also the fact that anyone who thought that this game was going to be close obviously has not watched Seattle since about week 4 on.
Yeah, they really put the hammer down and became that defensive juggernaut that we honestly expected teams like Baltimore or even Schittsburg or even Philly to turn into at some point in time in the season. They just never did.
Right.
Um, One thing I was interested in is the first Super Bowl without a touchdown in the first half since that Rams Patriots snoozer.
That set the game back 20 years. Yep.
I would say 15. I
That's
think you get
debatable.
5. I think you get 5 years back when Brady fucking goes away. So that's just me. But then it leaked into one of the most anticipated and really looked down or up to moments in Super Bowl history. And that, of course, when Bad Bunny took the stage at halftime. So if I could speak to that for just a minute, as a kid whose father grew up on that island, it brought joy to my heart. So I did not watch it Sunday night. Monday night, I actually set up my what I'm sitting on here now up in Bobby's room. And as Bobby's going to sleep, I do some work from home, and I turned it on. And Jim, I can honestly tell you, I felt like I was transported back to my aunt or my grandmother's house on a Sunday afternoon when we would go down there and visit my dad's side of the family. And then he threw the curveballs at us. First of all, did you hear about all the celebrities that were there in
Oh,
that
it's
were
Pedro Pascal and Jessica Alba. We can add her to the list of Jennifer Connelly and every other, actor from, 10, 15 years ago that obviously made some sort of deal with a demon or a deity to never age.
Ronald Acuna Jr. was there,
Yeah.
which I thought was hilarious. Um, but then you have a couple actually get engaged during the halftime show.
Not
You have a
engaged, married.
no, a couple got engaged and a couple got married,
Okay, yeah, I knew about the marriage. I didn't because they asked him to go to the wedding. He actually said, "No, just do it in front of the entire world."
which I thought was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And then you had the moment that took every single our age Latina mother out of her chair and made her cry when Ricky Martin came out.
Mhm.
And he, first of all, he's another one who made the deal with the deity who doesn't look like he's aged a day.
Right.
But my favorite moment in the song right before the wedding, there is a line where translated into English, it says, "Here is what you've been asking for." Then they have the wedding goes away, and here is Lady Gaga, or as they are calling her on social media now by the Puerto Ricans, Doña Gagita. And she does that salsa mix of the song she did with Bruno Mars several years ago.
Mhm.
Dude, I have saved that. You're a music guy. I'm a music guy. My daughter is not a Bad Bunny fan. I said, Caitlin, musically, you need to listen to this. And
Mhm.
she did. And it's one of those things that it took you to a place that you remember as a kid, hearing that music and seeing that. It was amazing. The overall message was phenomenal. But again, musically, and if you watched it when they were standing on the poles and the poles kind of burst and went out,
Yeah.
that was talking about the power infrastructure problems still in Puerto Rico to this day since Hurricane Maria.
Exactly. And then the fact that he actually hired just random people to dress up as trees. They weren't part of a choreography group or anything.
Kike Hernandez was one of the trees, the guy from
Yep.
the Dodgers.
I saw that. I saw that. And
Oh, excuse me.
And let's actually say what it is. I had it on mute. I watched it. I was topping off my drinks. I was getting some stuff done. I was actually surfing around the internet. I was looking at the stat lines and everything. Um, I think you enjoyed it because it's part of your culture. Naturally, it was not
Yes.
part of mine. I wasn't understanding it, but somebody put it out on Threads and Instagram, and it hit to a T because it's one of my favorite bands that I've actually had a renaissance with in the last few years. And you know where I'm going with this. People say that you can't understand Bad Bunny. It still doesn't mean you don't appreciate and you don't watch. We've been trying to figure out the lyrics for 30 years to Yellow Ledbetter. We still listen to Pearl Jam. I don't think Eddie Vedder knows the lyrics to Yellow Ledbetter, and he wrote the damn song.
Why did I just have a Weird Al flashback?
The first thing I thought of when I thought of that was Adam Sandler doing Opera Man.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Speaking of, Sandler was interviewed at the game. And they said, "What did you think?" And of course, Sandler doesn't know him as Bad Bunny; he knows him as Benito, which is his name.
Right.
Um, he's another Martinez, by the way. I don't think I'm related, but who knows? Um, yes. Oh, you got soundboard working tonight. Sweet.
Well, it's only on the phone.
That's all right. So I was impressed. I really was. I thought the overall message at the end, when he brought up not just this country, but every country in the Americas,
The
and
message on the football, yeah.
the message on football and the message on the
Yeah.
video board. Jim, for the first time in a long time, I was proud of the NFL because they could have caved and they could have changed, but they stuck with it and they let him get his message out. Then you had the videos of after the show of him and Roger Goodell embracing in the
Thank you. I
tunnel.
was just gonna bring that up because that was not a bro hug. That was basically Benito thanking Goodell and Goodell thanking Benito for putting everything to rest and putting on a performance of a lifetime.
Absolutely. The only thing missing from the performance was Travis Kelce covered in honey being eaten by a bear. That was the only thing we could have missed from the whole thing. Do the other one. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. You're welcome, Taylor. Um, so and then we get into the second half, and the second half is when I think New England tried to make a statement coming out with their first drive, and Seattle punched them in the face.
Yeah.
I mean, they open up play action, try to get the ball to Henderson, try to get the ball to the outside. And then all of a sudden, I'm listening to Kevin Harlan. All of a sudden, he goes, "And New England not needing another 3 and out." And I'm going, "Oh, this game's over." I mean, did you feel like it was
And
over
then
at
he
9
throws
nothing?
he essentially throws that they call it an interception. It was basically a strip sack, that the ball
Yeah,
didn't hit the ground. It was
yeah,
basically a scoop and score on on borderline a lateral at that point.
yeah, absolutely. But let me ask you this, Jim. I know I turned it off because I was getting tired after the final interception with just a few minutes left. Did it feel like to you that game was over at 9 nothing?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt for how dominant Seattle's defense was.
I mean, I think if you want to talk about dominant defenses in a Super Bowl, I think we got to bring on 3 games and see if you agree with this. Of course, this Super Bowl, the 2000 Ravens
Yeah. It's
against the
I
Giants.
put a poll out there. That was one of them.
So this one, that one, what Seattle did to Denver, and I think it was more impressive what they did to Denver that year because that was the year Peyton went off.
Yeah, but Peyton didn't have a neck at that point. I actually wanna
That's
I
where he threw
wanna
the 50 touchdowns, though.
I wanna throw out for consideration the 2002 Buccaneers,
That was a great defensive game plan.
and a lot of people wanna throw out the '86 Bears, but they woulda won that game by 50 if they wanted to. Granted, it was the greatest defense in the history of pro football, um, bar none. I mean, it was great, but basically, when you've got, that's when the NFC was so much more dominant than the AFC. Remember, we had
Oh
a
God,
period of
yes.
what, like 13, 14 years where the NFC not only just won the game, they rolled in the game.
Well, you figure starting the last AFC team to win the Super Bowl before the next one, just throwing it out there like that, I want to say was those one of those Raiders teams of the early
Yeah.
'80s,
Yep.
and then you
The
had
I
San
it
Francisco
was
went on
the
their
I
run.
wanna say it was the '81 Raiders, I think. 81 or
Yeah, because
82.
in San Francisco went on their run. The Bears had that team. The Giants won 2. The Redskins won. Well, Washington won 2. I know I said it because that's what they were then.
Dallas 3 out of 4.
Dallas 3 out of 4. You had also mixed in there. San Francisco won another one with Steve Young. Who was the AFC team to break that? It wasn't New England, was it?
I think it was Elway's Denver team because you
Against
had
Green
Green
Bay.
Bay in
Okay.
there as well.
Yeah, Favre won one and went to one the next year. Yeah, it might have been Elway's Denver team.
Yeah, it was Elway's first.
Okay. But then that created the AFC run because you had the 2 with Denver. Yes, St. Louis won one in there, but then you had the Patriots dynasty start. So yeah, I I got to be honest with you. When I heard that the running back was the MVP, I would have given it to the kicker.
Yeah, but Walker put them into very advantageous positions, and he was just, you know, we always think. Remember, I had Darnold. I can't remember who you had with that. Nobody expected Walker to be able to have that kind of game as stingy as New England's run defense was for really the last 6 weeks, going back to the end of the regular season. And he just seemed to find hole after hole after hole, through that defense. I mean, he was breaking off big chunks. He breaks out a couple of like he had like a 17-yard run. He had the big nearly 30-yarder, right after New England score or one of New England scores, and then basically just, they get a little bit of a creak, and then Seattle just shoves that door right back in their face.
Yeah, that was definitely the second half with the punch counter punch for Seattle was definitely one of the more impressive things because of course New England goes down and scores to make it what was it 16-7 at that point in
Yep.
time. And at 16 nothing I knew it was over, but they go down and score at 16-7. And what happens? New Seattle goes right down and bang scores again. So it's
Yeah. It's
it was a
it was 19-7, and then 3 minutes later, it becomes 22-7. Then the interception returned 29-7, and then the meaningless touchdown with 2 minutes to go to cut it to the final score of 29-13.
yeah, that game wasn't even as close as the scoreboard said either. I think we've
Oh,
established that too.
oh, no, and the fact that Seattle had over 7 had 6.5 minutes more time of possession, uh neither team really that impressive on third down. Seattle 6 of 15, New England 4 of 16. Just because it was, if Seattle would have been able to convert in the red zone a little bit more instead of, just the drive stalling and
Oh,
Jason Myers just, hitting 5 field goals at this point, we would have been looking at 42-7.
if he only has to hit two, what 21 more points is what? That's 50.
Yeah.
Th- If they would have dropped 50 on New England, I probably would have done I would have done bell kicks. So now, but more importantly, now that the Super Bowl is over, Jim, we can reflect on a very good NFL season. But most importantly, and I hope this will put a bow on this segment, it's baseball season.
Or if you're in Cleveland, it actually doesn't so much mean Guardian season. It's now the Cleveland Browns can actually start looking forward to their Super Bowl, and that is the NFL draft.
Yes.
Now that the NFL is over, Michael, we turn our attention to baseball, but that's got to take a bit of a back seat because pitchers and catchers have reported. We'll be talking about that in the coming weeks. But now we run into some of the more low periods of sports on the calendar because the NBA is on the All-Star break, which nobody really cares about anymore. Football is over, baseball is not getting cranking up, and hockey's on pause. Why? Because the Winter Olympics are currently in the middle of they're wrapping up their first full week in Milan-Cortino, Italy. And Michael, these have been they've not been jump off the page like some of the more recent games like Pyeongchang and Beijing and Salt Lake City. But Italy has got it going on, even though there was a lot of kind of controversy and everything going into these games. The hockey arena is not up to NHL standards. They don't even have a video board. They've got basically a giant projection screen because they fell behind in the construction with it. But these have been I have been glued to these games for about the last 5 days straight.
Yeah. I mean, you were going into these games with a lot of different stories on the American side, especially. You had the ice dancers who got screwed, by the way. God, they got fucking boned.
Yeah, it's
Um,
that's one of the things I have is that the US ice dancing team loses the gold after the French judge scored the French team 8 points higher, and it's not the first time it's happened with that judge and that pair.
is that the bitch from that screwed the Canadians too, or no?
No, but they actually said it was one of the more egregious judging decisions since the I'm trying to remember. I remember one of the guys. The guy was Anton Sikora because the name always stuck in my head. But there was an American pair that had like emigrated from the U.S. or Ukraine or Czech or something like that, and they got screwed by a French team.
Yeah, it's was I can't remember the names either, but it was definitely we needed Tanya Harding there to take care of that judge.
I'm sorry.
Um,
They it was there was a Canadian team who got screwed.
it was David Saleh and Jamie Peltier who got
That
screwed.
was it. That was it.
But yeah, we needed Tanya Harding to take care of that friggin' judge. Um, and then of course we have Lindsey Vaughn goes down and she's done.
Who had
Lindsey's not gonna be able to walk.
Yeah, I mean, she'll be able to walk, and the story that came out earlier, this was another one of my notes. She had a fourth surgery on that broken leg after that scary fall in the prelims, for the downhill. Her career essentially is going to be over at this point. She's 41 years old. I mean, she's basically done everything that there was, and unfortunately, Michaela Schifrin has basically broken every record that she's had, and Michaela Schifrin is not slowing down in any capacity. Um,
No.
but, um, you know, Vaughn they actually said that she might be able to get back to the States here by the end of the games. They hope. They hope that she'll be healed enough from that fourth surgery to be able to fly home.
Yeah, and hopefully, speedy recovery to Lindsey Vaughn because she has been an iconic American athlete in on the Olympic side for good God, 20 years?
Yeah, I mean, take the Tiger Woods relationship out. Take the um
I forgot about that.
I can't I don't want to turn it this way. The fact that she was I can't think of the word. I can't think of the word, but basically with her looks and everything that she was the sex appeal with her
Yeah.
from years ago. Kind of also making the sport as popular as it was. So every time you actually saw the downhill season, CBS Sports Network, NBC was carrying the coverage. The Olympics come up. It was all Lindsey Vaughn all the time when they were up on a mountain.
Yeah, no, she was definitely the one that carried the torch for many, many years, with US ski really US Olympic sports, if you ask me. Because without the NHL playing in hockey, without your recognizable names really in the Winter Olympics, because in the summer, we still get the basketball, we get the tennis players are all the pros, so we know all those guys. But not having that professional level with the hockey, you're gonna run into that, and Lindsey Vonn really carried the torch for the United States for many, many years. Um, One thing that I saw, I did see the US won, team gold in men's figure skating.
Correct.
And then that dude fell twice today.
Quad God Ilya Melinin fell twice in his run. Um, I want to say this was the long program. I actually had it on in the background at the office. I wasn't paying too much attention. uh, the ice dancing, the figure skating, really not my forte. I'll watch some of the gymnastics in the summer games, but I'm a very big proponent is that if you have to put kind of a performance art in the hands of judges for your final
Mhm.
as opposed to an actual winner and loser that can be actually determined, diving's kind of the same way. It's it takes a lot of luster off. It's fantastic to watch and appreciate, and you awe with regards to the tricks, but it's like still when it comes down to it, it's subjective to five opinions.
Yeah, and then of course there was a little controversy with his program that won the US the team gold. He hit a backflip, which first of all is fucking impressive. But we had a US figure skater in I want to say in Pyeongchang, female who was penalized for hitting by the way a cleaner backflip than what he did.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit and I'm not
Well,
as
there was
well versed. I
it's also because they had banned the backflip from competition because of the danger involved. Because if you don't hit it, either you could snap an ankle, snap a blade, or land on your head
Yeah, that's very
with the
true.
whiplash effect. So they had banned that in competition for a number of years, or at least international competitions. And exhibitions, it's one thing. but for world championships and Olympic games and Olympic trials, it was outlawed.
Okay, see, I didn't know that. Um, but they've obviously brought it back because their people went absolutely crazy, and he nailed it. It was
Yeah.
phenomenal. I will say this about the figure skating, just so you were saying what?
Go ahead, because I actually have been hearing Aaron Goldhammer on ESPN Cleveland rip into Quad God just because he self-glossed his own nickname.
Oh, Jesus
But you
Christ.
can also do that when you're the only guy that can hit that trick.
That's very true. Um, so what was I saying, son of a bitch?
About the team gold.
Yes. Um, I'm not as big into first of all, I don't know why you have team figure skating to begin with. Just again, me. The ice dancing, I was very interested because it's a husband and wife couple that got screwed. I like the short program, figure skating because it seems like there's um, more power to the moves. There's more, the pace is obviously quicker because it's a short program, but also it seems to me like they get a little more inventive in the short program.
Yeah.
So usually,
Certainly the men over the women, because with the men, it's all about hitting. No woman can hit a quad. Unfortunately, they're just not tall enough and they don't have the leg power to be able to hit that. And that's not being sexist or anything. The
no, it's
men
not.
basically are built that way to be able to hit those tricks. They've got the longer legs, they've got the additional power that they can build with the speed. The women, certainly, it's a lot more artistic. It flows better. They've got the ability to glide and come out of their breaks and their jumps a lot cleaner. So when the women's programs start getting going here in the next couple of days, a lot of people are going to watch that, myself included. It's good that the men are actually having their spotlight, but now that uh, you know Melanin is essentially out of it, it takes a lot of the luster off the rest of the men's program for this country. But there was a skater from Mexico that hit a flawless run, got a standing ovation, and basically like leaned down and kissed the ice because he knows he hit the performance of his lifetime, and he was coming into the program 23rd after the first round. I don't know where it vaulted him, but it was one of the better runs of the day.
The other thing too is in my watching the Olympics for every years, it seems to me that the upsets in the medals always happen on the women's side.
Yeah,
I mean, you got Tara Lipinski won the one year that no one saw coming out of anywhere. Sarah Hughes wins from Long Island, New York, wins the year they thought Michelle Kwan was finally going to win her gold medal. I don't remember seeing a men's big upset before. I hope the Mexican kid wins. Um, we have a Mexican figure skater and a Jamaican bobsled team. You believe that shit?
and I mean, arguably one of the bigger upsets that I actually happened earlier today, and I watched it live in the men's 10,000 meter speed skating program, long track. Czech speed skater Metoje Jilek won the event by, I want to say the final margin was about 2 seconds. He's 19.
Good God.
This is
Was it?
They were saying this, the 10,000 meter in long track, a 5,000 meter somebody his age might be able to do, or at least maybe possibly medal or finish just off the podium. A 19-year-old should not be getting on the podium, let alone at the top of it in the 10,000 meter, because that's a sport, or that's an event that takes a decade to learn.
That's impressive. Um, I did see something in the speed skating too. I don't think it was that one, but one of them I saw the American kid set the new Olympic record. He
Yes.
made up a full second on the last lap.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
Yeah, I was watching some of the women's short track speed skating, and it was kind of funny, is because they've actually got five in that in the short track, and it was a five. I want to say it was 1,000 meter race, so I want to say it was uh 10 laps. And the rule is that if anyone falls, or you have a collision or something coming out of the before you clear out of the first turn, you can actually restart. And it's amazing because these skaters can then go off to the sidelines, and then their coaches, basically, it's almost like they've got a NASCAR pit crew in their pocket. They've got drills, they got power tools, they can change out blades because some of those times, if they hit the ice the wrong way, the blade will actually curve. So they can actually put drills or whatnot into the blades. They can change out the blades, or they can even take a bent blade and then just by a little bit, and they can actually get the blade to become perfectly straight again. And they had fallen 3 times in a row, and they said, like, going back to Pyeongchang 4 years ago, they had one race where it had to be restarted 5 times before they got a clean first turn, and, uh, the American who was actually favored did end up winning the race. It was the Chinese skater who had initiated 2 of them, and then on the 3rd one, she basically got a penalty. I don't wanna say she got disqualified, but they actually asked her to leave the track, and they tried to reschedule her for one of the later heats for pushing.
Jesus.
Because you could put your hand on someone for that, but you can't really do it in a turn because with that momentum, it actually turns into a pushing motion.
Yeah, you're not gonna wanna do that, and they can't let you do that at that point in time. But let's get to the good stuff. The good stuff you and I, because as much as I am not an NHL guy, Jim, I love Olympic hockey. And I don't know if you saw, I don't know what channel it was on. Mike Eruzione, a bunch of the guys from that 1980 team were on. And Eruzione said he sat down with some of these guys and he said, "Listen, would you just win a goddamn gold medal? I'm tired of people talking to me."
Yeah, yeah. The
I
fact that
and
they
I
have
sent you the
not won
video.
since Lake Placid. Yep.
Yeah, and
It's
I sent you the video where they said we're going to get the greatest trophy in the world, and they said Canadian tears.
yeah, with John Hamm. Yep.
John Hamm, that was great. But let's break it down real quick. Just real quick with this part here. Uh, are we heading toward a U.S. Canada final?
Oh, without question, the U.S. men will play Denmark on Saturday in their second game. Canada crushed Switzerland 5-1 today, so they look like they're on a collision course. Um, did you see the one very hilarious piece of information that came out of the Slovak Finland game?
I did not.
A Slovak fugitive who had been on the run after 16 years got caught when he tried to get into the game to watch his host country and was nabbed by Italian authorities.
That's
He had committed
amazing.
multiple thefts over 16 years and was on the run and finally got caught.
That's amazing. I can't wait for that U.S. Canada final. And quite honestly, when we're ready for that, you and I need to absolutely dive into that game.
Oh, yeah, we'll probably be able to talk about that next week, but the men are just getting going. Um, Michael, are we looking at US basically blitzkrieging the entire world on the women's side?
Dude, I have not seen a U.S. hockey team be this dominant ever.
They
And I
have a
watched U.S. women's hockey going back to the names like Cami Granado.
Yes, the first team, because they've actually had 5 Olympics. I wanna say it's either 5 or 6, 5 or 7, and the US has won 3 golds, and they look well on their way to their next one. They have a 26-1 goal differential. The only goal that
Jesus.
they gave up was in the first 3 minutes of their opening game against Czechia back on Monday. 5-0 versus 5-0 versus Finland a couple of days later. 5-0 against Switzerland. Shut out Canada 5-0 a couple of nights
Damn.
ago. The first ever shutout against Canada in Olympic history. 6-0 against the host country of Italy in the quarterfinals today. They're awaiting either Finland or Switzerland on Monday in the semifinals.
Yeah, they're about to put a ass whooping on somebody. Oh, that's amazing. Um, Now I do have to ask you, the sporting seems to be your most entertaining moment of the Olympics, and it as well it should be. I want to know why Snoop Dogg dressed like the guy from the Humpty Dance video on the first night wasn't the most entertaining thing anyone's ever seen.
First of all, screw Snoop Dogg. Secondly, I mean, he could do that during the summer games when he's got like Martha Stewart and everything there.
With Kevin
It's
Hart.
just basic. It's a distraction at this point. I could care less because I was more focused in on what was going on the ice. Can we also give props to Cleveland Heights' own Layla Edwards becoming the first black woman to score an Olympic goal.
That was amazing. That was amazing. So, oh, real quick, opening ceremonies. Just want to touch on this real quick. Last Saturday or Sunday, whenever they had it during the day, we were at my in-laws' house and we were watching it. Um, my favorite moment was when the U.S. flag bearer, they had a camera crew at her family's house in Florida, up the road from my in-laws, and her dad is wearing her gold medal, and he is losing his mind. I mean, I love this for this stuff.
Yeah,
Um, we're 30 years since maybe the most iconic Summer Olympic moment that took place on U.S. soil when Muhammad Ali lit the torch. We're almost, scarily enough, 50 years from the Miracle on Ice.
yeah,
Uh, let's hope this Olympics lives up to some of the previous ones that it's had to. So far, so good, I think, from what you're telling me. I haven't been able to watch much because its work's been crazy,
yeah. I
but it
mean,
seems to me like it's getting there.
a couple of other things to touch on here. As good as some of the U.S. hockey's been, I watched some of the women's skeleton earlier today. Fantastic, highly, highly entertaining. Even though the on the NBC broadcast, the color analyst said that you're going downhill on a sheet of ice, on a tube made out of ice at 70 miles an hour, basically on a fiberglass cafeteria tray, and then the announcer who calls Formula One and IndyCar racing on NBC is just losing his shrimp.
That's
Um,
amazing.
so the skeleton, the luge, very entertaining. Those are always a good time. Um, the curling has gotten everyone's attention. The
Dude, they
curling
beat
in
Canada.
this tournament has been phenomenal.
That one, the women, U.S. women beat Canada today.
Correct. First ever with an 8-7 win with a clinching stone in the 10th frame. I actually bought a Nintendo Switch curling game yesterday after that match
Look at
for
you.
$6.
That ain't bad. But the best part was the throw at the end. The
Yeah.
last one, when she
Yep.
knocked out all 3 of their stones, dude, oh my god.
Yep.
Take a bow.
I mean, and arguably the talk of the entire Olympics, if you're a Team USA fan, were the Corys, Corey Thesey and Corey Dropkin in the mixed doubles taking silver as essentially playing partners and best friends for the last nearly decade at this point. Thies becomes the first US woman to win a curling medal. They come up short against Sweden, the defending world champions in the gold medal game. Um, and then Thies goes out and actually wins silver in the with the actually I'm sorry. She then joins the Canadian the US four stone team and then beats Canada 2 nights later.
Yeah, she's having a hell of a run.
Um they've got an issue with the medals. I don't know if you saw this, that they are breaking. That the medals themselves are not breaking, but the clips that hold them on the ribbons, they actually one of the I cannot remember who it was. I don't think it was Skylar Diggins. It was one of our downhill racers who won silver, or it might have been gold. And she's up doing it like a press conference after her race and everything, and she's got her medal after her medal ceremony, and she takes the thing out, she puts it down, and she actually said, "Yeah, the clips that hold them on are just breaking." So she's got the ribbon on one hand and she's got the metal sitting on the table. So they said that they're
Jeez.
actually in the process of trying to fix those. They don't know what's going on with them. Um, Chloe Kim, Miles Garrett's girlfriend, wins silver in half pipe. She does not three-peat in her event. Um, and then the weirdest story of the entire Olympics. The name Sturla Holm Lagerud from Norway wins bronze in the biathlon, won bronze again today. He was the individual that you heard about who, after winning, admitted to a Norwegian tabloid that he cheated on his girlfriend a few months prior, and was
What
and
a
was
douche.
incredibly remorseful, and she does not know what to think. They found her out. They did not give her name. They found her out, and she is still unsure whether or not she wants to take him back.
Like sands through the hourglass, so go the days of our lives.
But we still have a lot of Olympiad left. We've still got another week. The closing ceremonies will come to us next Sunday night, and then we'll prepare for Los Angeles in 2028 for the summer, assuming it gets that far. And then we're headed to the French Alps in 2030.
Nice.
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the YZ Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the YZ Translator. It is the best segment of the night because it is the last segment of the night. It is that moment when James and I give each other names inside and outside of the sports world, and the first thing that pops into our mind is the first thing we tell you. Now, the Translator has become really our love letter to the world, in my opinion. It started on our favorite show of the year, which is the Live Draft React. And it has morphed into the time when we can get someone saying something so overly stupid, we get people to laugh, and the Translator goes from 5 minutes to a 10-minute segment because no one can stop. So it is incumbent upon me tonight to give James the first name in tonight's YZ Translator. And I'm going to go here because we've never done anyone from this entity. James, your first name in tonight's YZ Translator is ESPN Cleveland anchor and my favorite person to send back to Denver, Aaron Goldhammer.
The little ball of hate, a lot of people hate him. I personally love the guy. He's a Buckeye hater. He always scores points in my book. He tells it like it is. He doesn't wear scarlet and gray colored glasses. He's a realist. He's not Shadur optimist like Uncle Tony Rizzo is. He calls people out where they need to. He's overexposed because of all the national stuff that he does. I have absolutely zero problem with the curly haired little ball of hate. Keep it coming, Hammer. Keep it coming.
Go back to fucking Denver, Aaron.
Michael, your name in the YZ Translator tonight. He was another name that got moved at the NBA deadline. And if there's ever a case of buyer's remorse after he now has been shut down for the year, newly acquired Utah Jazz star Jaren Jackson.
Who?
Jackson was acquired from the Grizzlies in a blockbuster deal at the deadline and now is going to be missing the rest of the season to remove a growth in his left knee.
Is that growth the fact that he doesn't want to play in Utah? Come on. It's
I mean, I hope it was worth it for Memphis, although they need to restockpile, the cupboard, especially if there's the rumor that, the rumors flying around that Ja Morant was going to get moved.
Oh my God, Ja Morant. Yep. Mm-hmm.
If the Hawks will move Trae Young and the Mavericks will blow the thing up and trade Anthony Davis less than a year after acquiring him, Ja Morant's going to be next.
How horrific does that trade look now?
The fact that you have Cooper Flag and nothing else.
They did it once with Dirk and nothing else. Let's see what they do now.